New Year 2010 edition of the Bahamas Historical Society. Start the whole new year. So I hope you all made good resolutions, especially people who are not members. Our guest speaker is a young veteran music and English teacher. She's worked in the field of education for 28 years, having been employed at Queen's College for 23 of those years. And it was at Queen's College I met our guest speaker. We were part of a team of 5 very nice people who were in charge of the pastoral care of the students. I got to say it was a very good time in my life. I think it was a good time in the 1980s. It was a good time in the Bahamas. Our speaker then moved to life at Key School for 5 years. And in 2005, she established the Bahamas School for Piano Students. And she remains very active in the training of the new generation of pianists and helping with the music ministry at the parish church, St. Mary's Anglican Church. Our speaker has also been a member of the Young Women's Christian Association, the YWCA, for many years, and currently serves as the General Secretary for that association. She holds 2 academic degrees, a Bachelor of Arts in English and a Master of Science in Education. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Miss Rosalie Fawkes, who will speak about her father, Sir Randol Fawkes, often referred to as the father of Labour, and is the man we can thank for that holiday, the Labour Day public holiday in June. Rosalie Fawkes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawlor. And as you said, we worked together for many years at Queen's College, and indeed it was a good time. Also joining me tonight is my mother, Lady Fawkes. I tried so desperately to get her up here. She was an eyewitness to history, but in the event that I start to veer off course with any fiction, I think she's here to put me back on track. All right, and I also see my cousin, Jackson, Mr. Jackson Burnside. And his claim to fame is that he's the nephew of Sir Randol Fawkes. His mom is Dad's sister. Okay. When Daddy passed, it happened very suddenly and unexpectedly. And I remember being very busy trying to help with the preparation of the funeral. And there was a room in the house that he kept locked. This was his library. And he always had a fear that somebody would go into the library and throw away all his papers and books. Dad never threw out anything. And we got the door opened because we were looking for information for the funeral booklet. And when we opened that door, there was not even 1 inch of space on the floor. Boxes of papers, magazines, you name it. And as we were digging through the cupboards and the papers and so forth, it came to me at that time that somebody needed to carry on with his work. When he was alive, he took care of his own legacy. He was constantly reading and studying and documenting history. And so after the funeral, we classified the information, and there were just a few books left of The Faith That Moved the Mountain, the 3rd edition, and we decided that we would put that book back into print, and we came up with the memorial edition of The Faith That Moved the Mountain. That contains an epilogue and a few additional photographs. And as we were going through the papers, I also came across newspapers, the Nassau Herald, that was put out by Mr. Cyril Stevenson. And in those papers I found articles that he had written in 1955 when he was trying to get the trade union movement off the ground. And so I went to the archives, and luckily enough, Mrs. Cyril Stevenson, June Stevenson, she's still alive, she had deposited all the back copies of the Nassau Herald, at the archives. And so I went through that newspaper and I found all the articles that he had written when he was launching the trade union movement. And I compiled those articles into a new book called Labor Unite or Perish. I have limited copies of those books with me tonight. So we're going to begin a journey, and being a teacher, I know that visual aids appeal to people a whole lot more than anything I have to say or anything that is written. So we'll have some photographs. Now this photograph, could we have the lights off, please? This photograph of Sir Randol, this was discovered by the family after his death. The last 2 years of his life, he took to wearing this red tie. And we didn't think anything of it, we just thought it was some idiosyncrasy. But after he passed, my brother Francis said that he once asked Dad why he wore this red tie. And he said that he wore the red tie to remind him of the blood atonement of Jesus Christ. And we said, oh my goodness, it's such a pity that we don't have a copy of a photograph of him in this red tie. And as we were going through papers in the library, surely enough, we came across several pictures of Dad in the red tie. And we wondered about who took this photograph. And as we went through his canceled checkbook, we saw a check made out to Mr. N. Aiken, and we called him. And surely enough, he had the negatives. He had taken the photograph. And so that photograph cover of the memorial edition of The Faith That Moved the Mountain. Next slide. So Dad was born in Nassau, Bahamas on March 20th, 1924. And he grew up in an area that is still called to this day the Fort Hill. The most famous landmarks in the area, move the slide over. Okay, the fort and the water tower. And my mother, her parents just lived right around the corner. The name of the street, Dead Cat Alley. And another landmark, the 66 Steps. And here we have a photograph of the family homestead on the Fort Hill. Now, Sir Randol's father was a stonemason, and his mother was a housewife. And to the side of that main structure, there was a very small house, and they kept a small petty shop. And they sold items such as corned beef, ice, lard, kerosene, oil. And these items were sold to people in the neighborhood. Sir Randol had 3 sisters, and 2 are still alive today. And there was also one brother who's now deceased, and he was a World War II veteran. The house is still standing. Now, during Sir Randol's teen years, there was an incident that made a very indelible impression upon him. And this occurred when a teacher at the old government high school made a comment about his sister Coral. And he felt that the comment was disparaging and racially motivated. And so in the book, The Faith That Moved the Mountain, Sir Randol credited this incident involving Coral with providing him with a mission for his life. In the front, you can go back just one. Yes, and in the front you see his parents, Randol Fawkes, Mildred, and there you have Juanita DeVoe, who passed recently. There is Bill. Coral stands in the middle. There's Dad, and Mrs. Gertrude Burnside, who is still alive today. And I have a picture here of Coral. This is taken during the Christmas holidays. There she stands in the middle. She was married to the late Reverend John Taylor.